But no. So we that went on for a long time. I want to move on to the last topic.
It was a deep discussion.
It was a very deep discussion, and expect a lot more of those now that we're a bit more comfortable on the stage. But the last topic I want to talk about today, and that is kind of the content creation side of things. A lot of these alt-right creators were lashing out. A lot of people were coming and sort of defending themselves on voting for Trump, and a lot of them were, it was a lot of drama involved recently.
I've learned a lot of things about a lot of creators that I didn't know existed before 4 days.
Same. Yeah. Same. And one of them that
underneath my rock and heard nothing.
And so there's two things I want to talk about here when it comes to this topic. One, a lot of people have been saying that we should be pressuring creators into talking about these instances. And a lot of people are saying that if you're not comfortable with talking about topics in the world to your communities, that you're allowing hate and racism and fascism to foster, potentially. And I think that's a very dangerous mindset to have. I understand where you're coming from, and I agree with you. But I also don't think it's necessarily right to pressure people into doing anything. Because if you do that, are you any better than the ones that want to pressure you into believing them? And here's the other issue when it comes to pressuring people in the first place. You're just going to shit on them. I have seen so many creators that got pressured into making a statement, pressured into doing something that they didn't want to do, and you shit on them for doing it. Mm-hmm. Oh, you shouldn't have had to get pressured into talking about it. Yeah. You made them do it. Yeah. If you're going to end up shitting on them for talking about it, because they had to, you forced them to do it.
Just have the internet, isn't it? Let's be real. It's just so annoying.
That goes back to the whole social media thing being just in your face constantly, like I was talking about earlier. It's so common. I think it's so commonplace now that for people to have a platform to talk about their views publicly, where that used to not be a thing. You used to not talk about shit. You kept it to yourself and only talked about it under certain circumstances.
That was like one of the unspeakable things, as being like it was that in religion, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. But now that social media has brought all of this into our face just 24/7, everybody thinks that they not only... I mean, everybody has an opinion, but everybody thinks that now that they have an opinion and they have this platform, that they have to share it. And that if you're not sharing your opinion and getting on board with whatever train that you're trying to get on board with, like, you're staying silent and complicit. And that isn't necessarily the thing. I mean, you can be supportive in other ways without being vocal about your support.
I don't have to sit on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't talk about the economic state of Vietnam, and that's not because I'm complicit with how that is right now. You know, it's because I don't fucking know anything about it.
Exactly.
It's like I don't have, and it's the issue that annoys me the most about it. It's like no one should have to say anything. It's like, for the case of like me, I've had this discussion multiple times. It's like, when it comes to like political issues and like real life shit, I hate talking about it. I really do, but I feel compelled to do so. And that's not because I feel like people, you know, it's like people are going to think one thing or another. I don't give a shit, like, what people think I believe. It's because I just feel compelled to share information and put it out there and be like, okay, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. Yeah. That's just who I am. That's just how my brain works. And if I don't, I just tap my foot for ages anxiously until I do it. But, you know, it's like, the mindset I think a lot of people need to take is, who gives a fuck? You know, it's like, really, none of these people who are being like, you need to say something, none of them actually care about what you have to say. They just want you to say something.
They just want you to talk.
Yeah, and it's like, none of them care. They're either looking to be annoyed at you, or they're looking to like feel justified in their own right. It's like, no one actually cares about you and your fault.
Now, I will say there are exceptions to that. Okay, and this is where I agree with that side of the aisle. When it comes to talking about promoting creators of color, promoting minority creators. I would 100% agree that it needs to get talked about. And more of these bigger streamers do need to get on board with that and start promoting your fellow creators. That is 100% a valid claim, because you can look at it and go, look, if you're not going to talk about it, that's because you enjoy the way it is. And it's kind of like, that's the part, that specific topic, I agree 100% with people going, your silence is contempt. Because you're okay with the status quo. It's benefiting you.
Someone not saying anything doesn't necessarily mean they enjoy it or they're okay with it. It might not. It might genuinely just be because they've not realized the problem. You know?
Yeah.
It's like they had their eyes open to it, and
not everybody
can talk about that.
Or
like,
in the way
I don't
of a
talk about
content creator, for example, they could be thinking about how it could go on further, of how this could lead to repercussions down the line, of how someone could flip this on them, or they could be thinking of how this will just turn into a trend because someone's pressured you into doing this.
Or, as nowadays, with the internet, you're immediately thinking of, okay, if I say something and the angry mob comes after me, like, it can actually get incredibly serious with people showing up at your house, people sending you death threats. Like, not everybody wants to put themselves out there like that and be vocal. And also, you don't owe anybody your opinion. Just flat out. Nobody is owed your thoughts and your opinions on things. That's something that you have to be willing to give, willing to put yourself out there with the emotional and like mental taxing that comes with it, and with your opinions and pieces of you being out there. So you don't owe anybody those pieces of you, and they have absolutely no right to demand that of you. That's my opinion.
And it's you can even look at it in a regard where it's like, if I do say this thing, it's going to impact me, directly, because one way or another, people on the internet, especially gamers, right? As a person, like, I shit on gamers on Twitter all the time because gamers are fucking trash.
Just such an easy target.
They're the worst, honestly, and I'm one of them. But they're the worst. Twitter gamers are the worst, right? But it's just one of those things. It's like, regardless of what I say, I'm just gonna be like attacked by some fucking nobody anime profile picture anyway.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm lucky enough where it's only gonna happen with like one or two. Someone who's like much bigger than me, that could be something that spirals out of control for them. So there is a thing where it's like, you have to think about yourself now and again. And whilst it sucks, especially in certain scenarios where I guarantee a lot of these people would be more than happy to talk about it, it's like they also got to think about it as like, well, how is this going to impact me? And it's a shame that we all can't just be like, well, that doesn't matter.
The question you have to also ask yourself is, for me, if I stick my neck out, are you going to help me out when they come back at me?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's my big question, because like you guys have seen my Twitter. I'm very vocal. I've been very vocal about this entire situation, but I'm only vocal about it because I know I've got enough people that'll back me up if they come back at me. If a bunch of MAGA assholes come at me, I got so many people that'll step in and back me up and say, back the fuck off.
Boy, you better believe I got your back on that. You should see my Facebook right now.
So, like, I have no problem talking about it because I know that if people come give me a hard time, it's not going to stress me out. It's not going to fucking stress. I don't give a shit. I mean, and then again, that's kind of how I am in general. And I think I've kind of embraced that whole persona of like, and I'll probably talk about this later on this year. People talk about trolls all the time and how you shouldn't engage in trolls. Please troll me. I will turn yo ass into content so fast it'll make your head spin. I love quote tweeting trolls. I love doing it because it lets me get some, it lets me vent, it lets me get some of my frustrations out. I'm gonna take it out on you.
Sarcastic prick to them.
Oh, 100%. I wish I got more trolls in chat. I wish I got more trolls. I wish I got more.
Honestly,
Jimmy's seen my Facebook.
pretty much any time I make a tweet now regarding like a headline, like if I quote retweet a headline, some fucking douchebags that come into my. Like,
oh, did you see the one that me and Berserk went on when you were talking about?
Yeah, like there was like a report being like Cyberpunk lost 75% of his players, and I'm like, well, first of all, single player game, not really that big of a deal. Second of all, people are probably just waiting for patches and DLC because they beat it.
Because they finished it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like
games work.
Yeah, and it's like, look at Avengers, lost 96%, and some dude was like, "Oh yeah, this is like an absolute train wreck," and I'm like, "Well, look at these stats, Look at he was like, it's not nothing like Red Dead Redemption 2. That didn't lose 75%. I was like, well, look at Red Dead Redemption 2. Came out 2 years later with an online mode, with a bunch of DLC, and it lost 4,000 people because it had 55,000 people playing it. Cyberpunk had 1 million in some estimates. You're gonna lose a lot.
Do you think a fucking million people are gonna keep playing a game? Come on, man. Fucking look at Among Us. Let me ask you this: is Among Us a train wreck because that game doesn't have as many people playing right now as it did before? God, people, the hills that people choose to die on blow my mind sometimes.
Every time I discuss games journalism and the way shit works, people are like, "No, you're wrong," and I'm like, "Yes, I'm wrong on this matter. Yes, out of both of us here, I'm the one that's wrong."
That's how I feel when I've been discussing some of this stuff, like political stuff this week, and people come back and they're like, actually, you're wrong. And I'm like, I just literally had an anthropology-related class about this topic. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about.
Like, hi, I've studied this.
That's how I get people like science is fake, science is rigged, fuck off, man. I've seen the scientific process. Do you know how hard it is to get shit published? It is not fake.
It is not. No, not even close.
And what's funny is the scientific discoveries we're seeing now were done 1.5 years ago. That's how long it takes to get shit published.
Yeah, just like everybody with the COVID vaccine. Oh, I'm so worried because they made this vaccine in 1 year, and I'm like, y'all, they've been working on this research for 13 years now.
Well, it's not just that, but did you have you done any research on the vaccine? It makes sense how they've done it. It's an mRNA vaccine.
Why
it does.
Normally, it's because
I've had so many people be like, "Oh, I don't know if I trust this vaccine," and I was like, "Well, it's not like we have a long history of vaccines proving to work and wiping out diseases or anything. It's not like we have any scientific evidence of that over the last 100 years alone or anything."
No, absolutely not.
Say that to me, I just say, "Well, you still eat McDonald's chicken nuggets. You don't know what's in that."
You've literally seen they made a whole fucking documentary about that shit. It's pink slime. They made a whole documentary about it. You still fucking stuff your face with 20 every time you go.
Like, motherfucker, you eat a lasagna from Tesco. That shit was made out of horse for 15 years. You didn't even know.
Have you gone to I don't know if y'all have 7-Elevens over there. I don't know if y'all have 7-Elevens over there in the UK, but have you ever seen a 7-Eleven hamburger? But I see people buy that shit every goddamn day.
Yeah. The hot dogs that sit there on the little rollers.
Fucking rolling around for 6 hours. I will eat that shit tonight.
Come on.
Okay? Please. You think I'm scared of what's in that vaccine? Do you think I'm scared of what's in a vaccine? I used to eat the 2 for $2 taquitos every single night when I was in college for 4 years.
Hell yeah, man! My mom used to work
microwaved ones that are just in like that plastic.
No. This is 7-Eleven ones that sit there on this roller for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Are those fresh? Maybe. When did your shift start? 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. My mom used to work at like a gas station corner store when I was in high school, and like I would go in there and I'd stop in after school and like grab a hot dog, and I gave zero shits. It had been, how long it had been on there, I don't fucking know, but it was delicious. And that's look all that I cared about.
Look at the stuff your kids are getting fed in school. You're worried about a goddamn injection in your arm?
Yeah. People are ridiculous, but science is scary. Scary science.
Science is scary, but also it's so important to you guys.